the problem isn't the Bible. The problem is how people who read the Bible bring assumptions about how it should be read and interpreted. Just like Bruce Cockburn, if I had a rocket launcher, is what he's trying to do there actually advocate violence, or is what he's trying to do is say, look, when you see other people being violent, you can very easily just want to respond in kind, right? And so what that I think was part of my struggling with is, are we allowed to read the Bible literarily rather than literally?
Well, I'm going to put a pause here.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just on this Christian podcast, The Heretic Happy Hour. Do you know them at all?
I've heard of it, yeah.
I love Christian. I have a love-hate relationships with Christians, but I really do admire, as a Baha'i, so much of the devotion of Christians.
Yeah.
But this is the thing I don't get and I really don't get this. In the Bible, all it talks about at the beginning of Matthew is like, he teaches in parables. Oh my God, he talks in parables. Yeah. He's talking parables. Jesus, why do you teach in parables? Why do you always talk in parables? Parables, parables, parables. Yeah. Similes, metaphors, illusions, stories. And Jesus explains it. And then who decides? It just seems so random to me what phrases and what stories are literal and which are metaphorical, because there's tons of stuff in the Bible that Jesus will say, like, I am the path. Well, we know he's not a path.
Yes.
He's a human.
Yes.
Well, he's in human form.
Yes.
But that's been decided, that's a metaphor.
Yes.
But they say, Jesus will come on the clouds.
Yes.
He's actually going to be sitting on clouds. Like he's not going to be coming in metaphorical clouds.
Yes.
He's going to be sitting on a cloud. That's just been decided. But here's the deal. Liberal Christians do this the same as other ones. There are no, but that's real. Well, who decided that?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's metaphorical. No, but that's real.
Yeah.
And like the resurrection, like I challenged this pastor about it. Like, isn't the resurrection the most beautiful thing? Like it's, that's what happens in the fall. Like the leaves fall and the plants seem to die and then they are resurrected. The phoenix from the ashes.
Yes.
We can be lost and then we can see.
Yeah.
We are dead and we are found. We are lost and found. We are resurrected. Jesus was resurrected. Did his corpse with the holes in it like float up and up? Why is God up there? Wouldn't God be here or there or whatever? Like, and I'm not trying to, to a lot of people, that's an important part of their belief. But why can't that be metaphorical? And people, and most Christians will be like, well, no, but that. Yes. I believe in the metaphor of the Bible, but I believe that in the bodily resurrection of Christ, that his corpse floated up to be with his dad, like literally his father, like as if the heavenly family works in this exact same way, that there's a man who has sperm that gets injected and then has like an offspring that shares a DNA. Why isn't he the metaphorical son? And why isn't it a metaphorical resurrection? How does this shit work? Because as a Baha'i, we're red letter Bible readers. Like, what did Jesus say?
Yeah.
Because that's what I care about. I don't care what Paul said, 40 years after the death of Jesus as much. I mean, I think he's certainly a brilliant and wise man, but he didn't even meet the guy. I don't really care what happened 100, 200 years later, or at the convocation of worms, what they decided how the Trinity worked or anything like that. Like, I care about what Jesus said and what he did. And he keeps talking about how he teaches in parables.
Yes.
So I'm all about like, okay, let's look for the parables.
Yes.
And then I just don't get it. Can you please explain for this very lost and curious Baha'i?
Well, what you're saying is that Christians can't seem to get their act together in how to interpret the Bible, including Jesus. Yeah, I'd say you've nailed it. Yeah. And maybe the problem is that they assume they're only going to get the one right interpretation. And that probably has a lot more to do with power than it does with actual understanding.
So how was that?
I remember I was on a long bus ride once with a rabbi, and she said to me, I don't get what you Christians arguing about the Bible, like somebody's going to get the right interpretation. She said, for us Jews, she said, the Bible is a bottomless well of meaning. I just love that phrase. And she said, what we think it's about is to stir up conversation, because it's not important that somebody else had an idea. It's important how we think. And if it stirs up our own thinking, that helps us become more thoughtful people, and we're a better place for that. And in a way, I think that's part of what could happen as a result of a lot of folks dropping out of organized religion. I think they're dropping out of an organized religion that has abused its own texts, that has, in a sense, been its own worst enemy. And maybe when people almost throw the Bible out like it's worthless, a few people will sneak back and say, hey, did you see what's going on in that story? The religious leaders never told us this, but man, there's really cool stuff going on. That's been my experience.
Yeah.
But it involves giving ourselves permission first to understand that ancient people were not stupid and they took all this stuff literally, and we're smart and we don't. I think ancient people look, they didn't have, TV reception wasn't good. Internet speed was not good. Storytelling was their way to do science. It was their way to do psychology. It was their way to do political science. They worked with the world through stories. You feel it in ancient stories. You feel it especially when you read indigenous stories. One of the things I did some years ago, I taught a course on origin stories. And so a lot of people don't know, but there are like 2 origin stories in the first 2 chapters of Genesis in the Bible. Took those 2 stories. And then we took stories
There's Adam and Eve, and God created the earth. And what's the other one?
That's the first one is God creates the earth and then creates humanity last. And in the second one, God creates a garden and then makes Adam and Eve and brings all the animals to Adam to name and that sort of thing. And those 2 different stories in Genesis 1 and 2 use different names for God. And so now scholars believe that they were
melded from 2 different traditions.
Came in 2 different.
But that's interesting. The Book of Genesis as an indigenous origin story, the same as like a
Navajo
Sioux or Navajo,
exactly.
Origin story or.
And when I did that, we would read them out loud, and then I'd invite the students to just say, "What did you notice?" Well, after you've done 2 or 3 or 4, you start to notice certain patterns and certain differences, and it was just an electric, educational experience for me as the teacher, at least. And so if we allow that ancient people were grappling with the tool that they have, they didn't have laboratories, they didn't have micrometers, they had stories. And I think that's how we should read any sacred text.
The Soul Boom Podcast. Subscribe now on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you get your stupid podcasts.